Hello, folks. Hope you're well. If you are loving the podcast, long-term fan, you've maybe been listening to a few episodes and like it, please make sure that you're subscribing to my Sunday Thoughts email newsletter that I send every Sunday. I give some perspective on self-improvement, and it's just some nice thoughts on a calming day. Also, if you're loving the podcast, I do a paid subscription of 99p a month where you get an extra episode on a Friday, which is a little bit more personal, and obviously a bonus episode, and any exclusive first access to any projects that I'm working on as well. So, if you want to do that, go for it. Otherwise, enjoy the show. Good morning, wonderful listeners. I hope you are all well. We have a beautiful, sunny, blue-skied morning here in Scotland. And I hope you have just as an upbeat feeling from the weather that you have just now. I apologise if it is dark, grey, rainy, maybe when you're listening to this. But I think it's important when we have these mornings to make the most of those feelings that it gives us. I've talked a lot recently around the change of seasons, creating that feeling of optimism, I guess. And it's important to bottle those feelings up, especially as we go through the change of seasons throughout the year as well, or maybe when we start to get used to the nicer weather as well. So I hope you are all well. I hope that there's a change in positivity for you. I hope there's feelings of what you're working on paying off, and ultimately just having that peace of mind that you are feeling better about the version of yourself that you are in right now. This episode comes from you guys, actually. It comes from your votes on the polls that I add to each episode. And a common theme that is coming up from the answers that I get, or the answers that people choose, is it's not about action. It's not about habits. It's not about the things that we're carrying out in order to become a better person. The main theme that is coming out right now is everything to do with our mindset. It's all about how we think, how we perceive everything day to day, self-improvement, work, relationships, everything. So it's important to address that today. It's important to address what can we do from a thinking, a mindset perspective. This outlook that we have is one of the biggest things that we can control, but at the same time, we are at mercy to the psychology that influences us as well. Now, there's lots of memes out there where it'll portray ourselves getting in our own way. So we have the best intentions in the world to become this great person, to have these great habits, to live this great lifestyle that helps our mental health and peace of mind. But we self-sabotage. We get in our own way. We destroy all of those good things because of how we think, because of self-doubt, because of imposter syndrome, because of lack of self-worth, lack of self-acceptance. And there is no one solution for this. I sometimes think the way that we think and how we think is a little bit like our genetics. It's how we're designed, and there's no one size fits all. There's things that we can do and try, and they'll work for a little while, and then we might need something new. It's a little bit like stages of life. I always like to think of that example of books that we read. Popular books are only good for you when you need them. There's no point in reading this incredible book when it doesn't resonate with you at that stage of life. And this can be so eye-opening, it can be so pivotal to how we think in that moment or at that stage of life. So I think it's important to accept who you are. It's important to accept what you're going through and the stage that you're at with it. For example, when difficult things happen to us, we need to have a moment of grievance, a moment of, I want to say the word wallowing. We need to wallow in the pain of shock or of just allowing ourselves to be upset at things. And that's an important process to accept. We don't just need to carry on as normal when something big happens to us. You're allowed to care about things. You're allowed to have things that you care about that mean a lot to you. And how you respond and react to those things is how you're designed to do so. There is this subliminal expectation of, oh, I should react in this way, or I should feel this way, even if it doesn't feel natural. There is something so incredible about leaning into, not even leaning in, giving in to how you feel and just allowing that to process. When it comes to the likes of non-doing and not pushing, we, in the world that we are in, are so designed for pushing all the time. And when we do that so much and it's so unnatural, it actually becomes part of our setup. And this is why, from a work point of view potentially, or maybe if you're into extreme exercise, lots of different examples. When you stop these things, your body genuinely doesn't know what to do. Your mind doesn't know what to do either. You suddenly stop and your body's not ready to stop because it's so used to pushing all the time. Obviously, the main thing when you're not non-doing or you're not pushing is the pressure that you're falling behind. The idea of life being some sort of race that you need to keep up with. And encouragingly, and maybe this is just from my own perspective, but I'm seeing a lot more non-doing coming to light, perhaps from the pandemic, perhaps just from people's values. They're believing and trusting, most importantly, the process around trusting yourself, knowing that you have the right intentions, knowing that when things are for you that they will happen, and having the inner peace and of acceptance with that. And I think when I'm talking about our mindset, this can be something that helps. This can be something that aids our acceptance that time is only an arbitrary thing that we have designed. And a lot of our mindset can be attributed to the thoughts of others. The idea that we must live up to what other people are saying. If we're not, then we're not good enough. And this can be hard to go against. Throughout life, there will be times where you feel ahead, you feel behind, you feel in the middle. None of them are the Holy Grail. None of them are the peak. When you're ahead, you're scared of falling behind. When you're behind, you're scared that you're falling even further behind. When you're in the middle, you're annoyed at the potential that you could have. it's that classic case of people with lots of money should be the happiest people on earth, but all they're worried about is losing all of their money. And this can be applied to so many different areas of our life. And it's almost a prison that we put ourselves into, that life is short, life is precious, and we spend so much time worrying about so many different things that we don't actually get to enjoy it. This obviously is connotated and aligned with the likes of being present. And it's so interesting that being present comes from slowing down. Being present and enjoying things comes from the non-doing. Being present comes from that moment of flow when you're exercising, when you're doing a creative project, you're maybe reading, writing, cooking, whatever. Those are the moments where you are present without even realizing it. There's a unspoken joy around that. And like I say, it's so funny that the non-doing, such as meditating, walking, with no agenda or no expectation of things that you need from it, just knowing that that is the essence of life. Those are the purest things that you can do. Nobody is, unless they're at the Olympics for power walking, obviously, but no one's the best in the world at walking. No one's the best at the world at meditating. All of these non-doing things, it's not a competition. Of course, a competition can be healthy in certain areas of our life, but when we only compete, it removes a lot of the joy that we could experience with our mindset. I'm going to wrap there, guys. I'm going to stop. I'm going to let you process. I'm going to let you digest a lot of those thoughts around mindset. As you can imagine, this is not going to be the only episode that I do around this as well. But hopefully that resonates with you. Hopefully that allows you time to think. And also permission to give in a little bit to the purer things in life that will allow you to enjoy it, will allow you to love yourself a little bit more as well. Guys, I've also, by the time this episode comes out, it might be last week, but I've just started an Instagram as well. I believe a lot of the listeners, you guys are on Instagram. So I thought I would share some things on there. I'll do a little bit of podcast stuff, but the main thing will be the how to live more simply, how to enjoy life. So I hope that's something that you guys would like. Come follow me. I'll pop it in the show notes as well. And as always, have a great week until I speak to you next. And thanks for listening. Cheers. Hey guys, me again. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and if you're not ready for the Becoming Unstuck in 30 Days self-led course quite yet, why don't you try my free ebook I created, 5 simple steps to improve yourself and your life. I made this during the very first lockdown of the pandemic in the early days of the self-improvement project. It's a quick go-to when you're feeling unsure what to work on when improving yourself or your lifestyle. And the great starting point if you're trying to figure out how to live a more fulfilling and simple life. The link for this will be in the show notes for you. Have a good one.